For the past 3 years, I've gone with the International Rescue Committee to a center of the refugee crisis somewhere in the world. First, I went to Greece. Then I went to, the second year, I went with my wife to Greece and Serbia and Germany, following a family that we met initially in Greece on the first year. And this year, we went to Uganda. We should be building welcome, not walls.
And did you take your son on this as well?
I took my son Isaac, who is 35 years old. He's not a little boy anymore,
yes.
but he'll always be my little boy. And it was just very moving to meet these people who literally say welcome every time you walk into a room. Their sense of understanding morality and ethical human behavior is something that I feel terribly sad about, that we have lost in so much of the Western world and other parts of our
And it was doing
planet.
the show, was it, that doing Homeland in your character, that then as you looked out to the world, you looked up from the script and you thought...
Yes, it was in 2015. We were shooting in Berlin, and our first episode of that year, which I think was the 5th season, took place in a Syrian refugee camp. At the same time, 125,000 refugees were fleeing, trying to get to Germany and other parts of the EU before they shut the doors in 2016 of March. And my heart broke because these were my relatives. This reminded me of my relatives, my family, in early 1900 when they...
From Russia. Yes.
Russian Jews from Russia and Lithuania who were fleeing violence there, trying to have a new life and be welcomed by someone, and the United States welcomed them. And so I just wanted to go there and be with these people and hold their hand and give them comfort, because they reminded me of my ancestors. And I wouldn't be here today talking to you if it wasn't for the kindness of people in
strangers.
the United States back then.
Well, you see, you say back then, because I wonder if some people might be thinking, hang on, what's an American doing coming here and telling Europe to be more welcoming, when we've heard so many negative stories, legal changes that have made it harder to get into America, but actually they are still the biggest taker-in of refugees, aren't they?
Well, if they're the biggest taker-in, that's truly a tragedy, because in the Obama administration, he left office asking for 110,000 refugees to come into the country. The last year before he left, 85,000 came in. The minute Trump was inaugurated, he lowered it down to 50,000. That has, I think, less than 10,000 have come in this fiscal year already. That's less than 4 times the amount that came in the previous year. And chances are less than 23,000 will come in by the end of 18. That is not even half of this president's administration's quota that they're asking for. And not just the United States, but the UK, all of us have to reach deep into our souls, our hearts, our pockets, and support these third world nations, not third world nations, these developing nations who are doing the lion's share of the work for our fellow human beings. And when you go there and you meet them and you see the smiles on their faces and meet the children, you can't understand how we as a human race are not being more generous. And in terms of the political aspect of things, it is the job of our elected officials to work harder, to up the diplomacy so that these conflicts don't take place.
You're talking so passionately about how working on Homeland helped direct you towards a cause you believe in, trying to highlight the plight of refugees. But one of the fascinating things I think about Homeland in generally, and this series in particular, is it feels as though the writers either have a crystal ball or really know stuff. I mean, we've had, in this series, fake news, Russian secret involvement in how the government is run and how it's being influenced. We've had Twitter being used to manipulate the way the world is represented and the way politics is represented. And I just have a vision of a man like you, of Saul Berenson, being the one there telling them and talking about the evidence they might have or not have. I mean, are there people working on the show that really know what's going on?
No, there are people working on the show that know how to listen. They wake up in the morning, and you don't need to be Einstein to ask the questions. You just wake up, you listen, and you know where the concerns are going to be. And unfortunately, they prove to be true. So our writers just accumulate them and put them into a story.
New York Times said that you have this amazing range from baritone to falsetto. Do you still have that? I know voice changes with age.
Well, gravity and time take its toll, but I do love to sing. It is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and it's how I like to share my thoughts and feelings.
And you got a new album?
I have a new one that'll be coming out April 27th on None Such, called Diary. The idea is every Every few months, we'll accumulate 8 to 10 songs and we'll put it out. All those songs is another page in the diary.
Absolutely extraordinary. And there's a huge amount of talk on fan sites of your beard.
Yes.
Does it take a lot of work to keep it in that spectacular
There's a
condition?
makeup person who's in charge of my beard, and she gets all the credit. I
Fully
get none.
paid up member of staff for the beard.
I think the
Love
beard
it.
is far more recognizable and famous than I'll ever be.
It's becoming
Give
a thing.
Sean some tips.
Yeah.
So you're doing fine. You don't
Well,
need to worry.
It's a huge pleasure to talk to you this morning.
Pleasure to talk to you.
Homeland continues. There's another series, is there?
There's an 8th
Great.
season that will begin filming in January of 2019.
And good luck with all the
Well, we look forward to
humanitarian
it.
work.
Please, let's all
Very
help
much
these
appreciated.
vulnerable people and do everything we can for them. They deserve it.